What's up, my friends? Welcome to Season 10 of the In Our Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Ruiz. You can call me Adrian, Executive Director of the Youth Development Network and co-director of the Creciente Latinx Leadership Program here in Sacramento. Today, I am with someone I call a friend, someone who I call an advocate in Sacramento. His name is Francisco Castillo. He is the Director of State Government Relations for the West Region, which is basically the whole west side of the United States, right?
Exactly.
And for the Diageo North America, and he's doing amazing work, and I want to dive into the work that he's doing in Sacramento, but also a little bit of his life, because let's face it, Francisco's life is pretty fascinating. So with that being said, Francisco, welcome to the In Our Tribe podcast, my friend.
Hey, thanks, Adrian. You know, when you introduced the program, almost 100 episodes.
Yes, sir.
So it took 100 episodes to be on.
90.
Hey, you know what? I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for having me on.
Right on,
Looking
man,
forward to it.
right on. We always start the show with, tell us what you're listening to. And I'm all over the place right now. I'm listening to a little bit of J. Cole. I'm listening to Peso Pluma. I'm listening to Interpol. I'm literally everywhere. What are you listening to these days?
Hey, I'm everywhere too, man. If you check out my Spotify, one of the first artists you'll see on there is obviously, and I know you've probably heard this quite a bit, but it's Bad Bunny, Karol G, J Balvin, Maluma. But I also like merengue too, so I like some merengue music in there, and try to mix it up a little bit. And then I like hip hop, Cardi B. I listen to some Cardi B as well.
Yes.
Kehlani and many others, but it's all over the place. But you know
love
what?
it.
Music is what keeps me going sometimes too. So I enjoy it.
Yes, sir. Not to mention the occasional podcast, right?
Exactly.
Man, so I meet Francisco in about 2000, let's just say 2018, something like that.
Class 22.
Class
American
22.
Leadership Forum.
There you go. And it was just a wonderful experience. And I remember all introducing ourselves, and Francisco's like, hey, I'm from San Francisco. I'm like, me too. And then he goes, I'm from the Mission District. I'm like, me too. And then he's like, yeah.
I'm Nicaragüense.
I'm Nicaragüense. And I'm like, me too. And it was the craziest thing, man. I was just like, immediately there was a friendship there just by proxy. And I'm just wondering, can you share with us a little bit about your childhood? Because I know what my childhood was like growing up in San Francisco. I'm wondering what it was like for you and how that just helped make you who you are today.
No, absolutely, man. Let's dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes, sir.
No, you know what? My parents moved to San Francisco from Nicaragua when I was 5. So I, this kid who didn't speak any Spanish, who didn't speak any English, moved to San Francisco, went to elementary school there in the city, middle school, high school, college. Grew up by a single mother. My parents divorced when I was 8.
Okay.
So that was a bit tough because obviously my mother had 2 jobs. We were new to this country, but what saved us obviously was being surrounded by family. So I lived with my grandparents in the Mission District, literally right next door. You know how Latino families are. We have like a 2-bedroom apartment. We were on the right side of the apartments, and you come out the door, we were on the left side. My grandparents were on the left side of the apartments.
Right.
So it's kind of nice to have them around.
Yeah.
Even though my parents divorced when I was 8 and raised by a single mother, and my father wasn't really around, my grandparents served as my second parents because they helped my mother when she had 2 jobs and so forth. But it was tough. I also grew up in a time where it was kind of rough in the Mission. I couldn't wear blue, I couldn't wear brown, I couldn't wear red. So I was like, I wear black or white.
22nd on? Where
Yeah,
were you?
I was on 22nd on 21st and Cap.
24. Oh, yes, sir.
And the perception also of a young Latino growing up in the Mission District was, oh, you're going to be a gang member, or you're going to fall off the cracks, you're going to drop out of school. And growing up as a child, I heard that a lot from many people.
Wow.
Including my high school counselor, but we can dive into that, later on when she said that not even bother applying to UC Berkeley because I wasn't going to get in anyway. And mind you, a Latina counselor.
For real. I hope it's not someone I knew in San Francisco.
No, I don't think so. But it was a challenging childhood. But I'm blessed to have those experiences because I feel like those experiences that I went through helped shape the person who I am today.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like when you think about that growing up in San Francisco and tough conditions, how did that shape you and how did that give you the values that you have today?
Yeah, so first of all, a couple core values that I live by are, authenticity is one of them. Family, having family around is another, and service and community are others, right? And everything that I'm involved in now is because of something that I experienced growing up, right? And so growing up by a single mother who had 2 jobs to make ends meet.
Wow.
She taught me gratitude and humility. Being surrounded by family, that's important. But also community is, obviously in service is one of my core values. Ever since I was young, I wanted to make sure that living by a single mother, and I'll talk a lot about my mom throughout this process because that's who my primary anchor was growing up. She was on welfare. And I remember even her giving me food stamps when I was young to go buy groceries across the street,
At the corner store?
From where we live, at the corner store. But now, being able to, and she didn't get any services at that time in terms of like nonprofits that would help out. We didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
My mother barely spoke any English at that time.
Gotcha.
So now, involved with some of those services and nonprofits that provide to low-income families. And, being authentic. I struggled with that growing up, and we'll dive into this a little bit more in a bit, but I struggled to show up and be my fully authentic self. And now that I've kind of looked back, and what childhood has taught me is perspective, be able to look back and be like, you know what, I could have done that a little differently, but now that I experienced that growing up, I can actually start doing things a little bit different based on those experiences. And so those are the core values that have guided me. It was never easy, but again, I'm stronger now because of that.
Yeah. So, like me, you make the move at some point in your life from the Mission District in San Francisco to Sacramento.
There was no plan for that initially.
None.
No, I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
Growing up, and my mother was like, "You should be a lawyer. You should be a lawyer." Our parents always have this vision of their kids wanting to be something that they hope for them to be, and my mom wanted me to be a lawyer. And at that time, I was going to school in San Francisco. I went to SF State, graduated with a political science degree. Started working for nonprofits in the city.
Okay.
At a very young age, I volunteered in SF. I studied for the LSAT, and I was like, this is not for me.
Wow.
I do not want to be an attorney. No offense, I have a lot of friends who are attorneys. They do a great job. Not something that I wanted to do. I think, I had other plans in mind. And at that time, I was working for Mayor Gavin Newsom at that time. When he was mayor in San Francisco. I was the Spanish spokesperson for the mayor in SF. And I got a call from Sacramento, out of all places. And it was the governor's office. At that time, it was Governor Schwarzenegger's office.
Yeah.
Who reached out and said, "Hey, there's this position available. Do you want to move? Do you want to consider or submit your resume?" And I was like, you know what? First of all, this young Latino. I was 24 years old. I get a call from the governor's office. I got a lot of slack by that, by the way, from the Latino community in San Francisco, because obviously you live in a very progressive city.
Yeah.
And working for a Republican governor was not the most popular thing at that time.
Yep.
I mean, probably not even so now, but at that time, even then, right?
Right.
Anyway, and so I applied for the job, and I got it.
Boom.
In San Francisco, I became the governor's deputy press secretary, liaison to Latino media, and that's what brought me to Sacramento. And I moved to Sacramento in 2008.
Okay.
Didn't know anyone.
Wow.
It felt small. It felt, it was definitely different than in San Francisco. But one thing I did learn quickly was that community was very important here. There's a close-knit community.
Yes.
Community impact was very important here because when you have a smaller community, you feel like the work that you do in community has a lot more impact.
Right.
Because it's smaller, and there's opportunity for you to engage.
Yep.
And so anyway, I when I moved to Sacramento, there was a lot of it was new. It was a culture shock. But I felt like it was also a professional growth for me, an opportunity for me to represent my community within an administration that was willing to extend their hand to say, hey, we need a Latino spokesperson to be able to convey the governor's message to the Latino community and the Latino media. And I did that. And I think I was able to gain a lot of respect from my colleagues, but also the Latino community in the greater Sacramento area and in San Francisco.
I remember this time. I remember, Schwarzenegger in office, and I have to share with you.
Yeah.
One, newsflash: I'm not a Republican, but Schwarzenegger won me over on a couple things. One, the way he went to at bat for after-school programs in a time where they were making budget cuts, he would not let them touch the after-school dollars.
Yeah.
And you and I know that these programs are lifesavers.
Yeah.
And I had to like just, flip my. I was like, that is leadership for young people right there, and I'm really glad you made that call. So, what were the things that for you as a Latino, getting flack from the community, but also seeing this office take place, and the office came to be under interesting circumstances as well, right?
Right.
How did you navigate that time politically and socially, that intersection right there?
Yeah, it was challenging. I obviously I was working for Gavin Newsom at that time in San Francisco, and then had the opportunity to work for the governor. And one of the things I think we have to remind ourselves, obviously, number one, when we stick with our core values, we stay on target, right? And I think no matter whether it's your professional job, whether it's volunteering in the community, whether it's raising kids and having a family, when you stick with all those core values, it helps us kind of stay on. It helps us stay on target, right?
Absolutely.
And so for me, there were some good things that the governor was doing. Did I agree with everything that the governor was doing? No one agrees with anything that their employer does at all times, right? But my job was to help convey that message and at least shed some light to some of the things that the governor was doing that would impact the Latino community,
right?
Whether the Latino community agree with it or not. And so it was challenging because, like I said, there were some things that I didn't agree with the governor on, but it was my job to convey the message to the community. And also, there were a lot of great things that the governor was doing that I thought was important for the community to recognize, right? But at that time, I remember going to a community meeting, even before I worked for the governor, it was Prop 187.
That's right.
At that time, which was super controversial, right?
Yep.
End of affirmative action, end of bilingual education. All that was done before Governor Schwarzenegger during a Republican governor. And I think Governor Schwarzenegger did a really good job in building an administration that represented the values of California, but also not just one party. His chief of staff was a Democrat. Maria Shriver's chief of staff was a Democrat. He had Democrats in his administration and he had Republicans in the administration, and he had independents in his administration. And so I think when you mix all that together, it creates an opportunity for dialogue. It creates an opportunity for
100.
Reasonable ideas that come from those conversations, and I think he did a really good job during that time, navigating that time, because it was tough politically. And we're not even going to talk about the current political state, because obviously it's way tougher now for someone to work for a Republican governor or a Republican legislator or a Democratic governor and a Democratic legislature. It's very polarizing. It was nothing like that when I worked for the governor.
Democracy at work, go figure, right?
Yeah.
So I want to get back to you really quick.
Yeah.
Let's go back to when we met.
Yep.
I would say I met Francisco at a very interesting time in his life.
That's right.
And from the outside looking in, as we were going through the class together and still staying true to the container. I saw someone who was just an amazing community advocate, an amazing family member, politically savvy, knew what he was doing. But I want to talk about these different parts that make up Francisco. One, let's start with an easy one. Why is community and being a community advocate and so civically responsible, the civic responsibility part of you, why is it so critical to who Francisco is?
Like I mentioned earlier, I think that my lived experiences have shaped who I am today, and also have provided me a lens to determine what I want to engage and what I don't want to engage with in community, right? But I also think that community leadership is not about titles. It's about continuing to open those doors or go through those doors that were open for you, but also the responsibility of how do we keep those doors open for people that are coming walking behind you or alongside you, right? And I think as community leaders, that's important. Is how do we, I'm only going to be here a certain amount of time. You're only going to be here a certain amount of time. So how do we build up community? But also, there's a lot of when I talk about my lived experiences, right? Being raised by a single mother, being on welfare, being LGBT, being having 2 kids, and thinking back to when my kids were little, or my kids are still teenage age now, but thinking back to my mother having 2 jobs and all those challenges that I went through growing up, or even me being perceived as I was going to be a gang member and all these programs that weren't available for me at that time, that I thought would have helped benefit me, right? Or my friends who were going through the same struggles. Looking back now, I was like, man, there's so many great nonprofits in the Sacramento region
that
are doing some good work that our community doesn't know about, right? And so what can we do in addition to opening the doors for others that come behind us to ensure that the services and organizations that are there now or that are here in Sacramento now are reaching the right folks in our community, or that our community knows about them, because a lot of times they don't.
Right.
And so that's kind of, that for me, community leadership and being an advocate is how do we make that happen? I just one quick story real quick. When I live in West Sacramento, there was a time where funding was going to be cut for a nonprofit in the city, in West Sac. And it was single mothers who would receive funding from the First Five Commission in Yolo County, to a nonprofit that served those mothers in West Sacramento. That was about to be cut. And so I organized those single mothers in West Sacramento. And what I realized was that, number one, because they didn't speak English, they were afraid to walk into City Hall for the first time, or to the county office for the first time, to advocate for themselves, right? And what we did was we brought those mothers together, got them in a van, drove up to Yolo County, and I stood next to them as they testified before the Board of Supervisors in Yolo County.
That's what's up.
And advocated for more funding, or for the funding not to be cut. And guess what? The funding wasn't cut. But it was because those mothers had the courage to step into City Hall or to the county office to say, you know what, this matters to us. And having someone or an organization there to kind of walk alongside them to say, you can do this, you can advocate for yourself, your voice matters, let's make this happen. They did, and the funding was restored. And that's one thing that I'm proud of. But that's what community organizing is about. That's what community leadership is about. And that's when I talk about sticking to my core values about service, community, and authenticity. Because if you do, things like that, some good things like that will happen.
It's just who you are. And I know that when we were designing Creciente and we were having conversations about Creciente, I remember one day you were like, hey, I want in. I can help. And since that day, you have been part of the Creciente community and helping us grow this and making it what it is today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The other vantage point that I saw was like, here's this community advocate. And then I saw Francisco, the family member, like how much you love your kids and how much you love your family and how much you show up for them. And here you are, like you're on a flight often, you're all over the place. How are you able to hold on to that part that is just so precious to you, the family aspect of it?
Family is very important to me. Obviously, I have 2 beautiful kids and co-parent very well with my kid's mom. But what I learned real fast was that I wanted to show up different than my dad showed up when I was young, right? And so my mother was my provider. My mother, or still is, not provider, but she's my protector. She still is my protector. She's my motivator. She still is my motivator. She was, when I was growing up, because she was a single mom, right? And so when my dad when my parents divorced when I was 8, I had no dad. My dad was, I did. My grandfather stepped in as a father figure, which I'm very thankful for. But I always said to myself, and Lisette and I always talked about this, that our kids are going to be our number 1 priority. And whether parents are together or not, I think you can work out your differences and make sure that you're there for your kids. And for us, it's not about what you say, it's the example you set for your kids that is going to teach them the core values that are important, right? And so
100.
for me, I hope that my kids see me and see Lisette as two parents who are teaching them the importance of family, who are teaching them the importance of being authentic and authenticity, and are teaching them the importance of serving your community, right? Which is why I bring my kids to community events, which is why, Moises has done interviews with local TV on the importance of volunteering at a community.
I love that.
Right? It's not just, and it's not because, I want him to be in front of a TV, it's because he volunteers, and he at that time realized that was important. It was awesome to bring a bag of pencils and school utilities to a organization that is collecting this for kids.
Yeah.
It's great to come in and have your kids fold clothes and give away turkey baskets to families who are in need, because they see the importance of community, and they recognize that this is what we had to go through when I was younger as well, right? And so when you set those examples for the kids, they become even much better, stronger individuals, and I'm proud of the kids that they are. They're both great kids.
Yes, they are.
Amaya's in high school playing varsity basketball. Moises is at Folsom Lake College.
Wow.
Wanting to study criminal justice.
Wow.
And they're doing great.
Yeah. Well, great parents.
Thank you.
Great family structure. Now, you ready?
I'm always ready.
You're always ready.
Ready.
Yeah.
Always ready.
Maybe it's me that's
well, maybe I
nervous
wasn't
about
ready
this.
with what I think you're going to ask, but.
So, 2018.
Yeah.
You shared with us where you were at in your life.
Yeah.
You shared with us that you identified as a gay man.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the whole world knew about this yet.
No, not even 2018.
Yeah.
I'll tell you the story in a minute, but yes, not
So,
2018.
and I remember that you were clearly at a point in time where this was like your truth, but you were also, if I could be so brave here or transparent, you were still wrestling with what this meant to you moving forward and how it was going to be received and perceived. Tell us a little bit about that moment from like 2018 to 2021 is where I really saw you starting to navigate this more with more purpose.
Yeah. Well, coming out is not a moment. It's a process. And I think that I'm still going through that process. It's not like it ends, right? It's not like you come out and it's like, hey, everyone knows you're gay and we're good. It was a struggle. It was hard. I went through my divorce in 2018. There's a lot of regrets in terms of how I went about this process, but don't regret being with someone who I love, who was, at that time, Lisette, and I still love her. She's the mother of my kids. We're like best friends.
Yeah.
But I was struggling with myself, all right? And I think, so that was in 2018, to the point where, Adrian, I know we went through ALF together in
18-ish.
Yeah. I had been selected to go through ALF the year before.
Oh.
And I called, and I struggled with this. I called and I said, I can't go through this program right now because I'm going through a divorce. And I don't want the program to influence decisions that I make about my own personal life. And this is because I had talked to a lot of people about ALF, and I love the program. I'm on the board of directors now, and I advocate for the program for others to go through it.
Yeah.
But I didn't want anyone to influence my own personal decisions, or at least I felt that that's what a program would do, because that's what I had spoken to folks about. So I delayed it because I was struggling with even talking about it in 2018, right, at that time. So fast forward to 2020, October 11th of 2020. I'm scrolling through Facebook, and October 11th, 2020 October 11th is a significant day because that's National Coming Out Day. Every year is October 11th. And at that time, I had already been dating someone and seeing someone, but no one knew about it aside from my close friends and the close-knit community that I had already been in touch with, right? But I woke up that morning and I was like, you know what? I think today's the day. And so I came down the stairs, had my cup of coffee, had my cup in hand, scrolling through Facebook, and I started seeing posts of people on there that I knew from high school that were coming out. That were coming out as bisexual, that were coming out as LGBT or the gay, that was coming out as, lesbian. And I was like, throughout the years, I've seen a little bit of that. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it to social media, and I'm gonna create a post. I'm gonna let the world know, and let my biggest secret out, and let people know that I'm gay. And I drafted the post, and of course, my stomach felt like spun laundry, right? Like my stomach was hurting at that time because I was like, I was nervous. What are people gonna think? How am I gonna be perceived? At that time I had jobs that were very public facing. So I was concerned about just general, right? General stuff that you'd be concerned about when you think through stuff like this.
Right.
And I said to myself, I'm just gonna do it. I hit send and reveal to the world who I truly am and my authentic self, right? But also, I needed to preach what I was actually saying. I mean, I was preaching, but I was not actually doing what I was preaching, which was it's important for you to be your authentic self. But I wasn't doing that myself.
Yep.
I was showing up in spaces, and I was trying to figure out how to fit in.
Yeah.
Versus being fully myself.
Yeah.
And being authentic, and then everything else aligning to that. So it was a challenge. It was a challenge because of how I was perceived. And what quickly changed, though, after I hit send, is no one cared. Everyone cared about my well-being. Everyone cared about me being happy. And when I say no one cared, I said no one cared in a negative way, right? Because I thought I was going to get a lot of blowback, or I was going to lose friends and go through that process. And I didn't. I didn't lose friends. The only person that stopped talking to me at that time was my dad. And I got about 500 likes on my post at that time when I first came out, because it was almost like, and I decided to do it on social media because it's like walking into a dark room. Imagine walking into a dark room and no one's watching, and the only people listening are your parents and your kids.
Wow.
And that's how I felt when I did it on social media. I was like, none of these people are watching me right now or are listening. I'm gonna walk in, post a post, let people know my true authentic self, and the only people that are gonna know about it that I care about is my mom, my family, and my kids. And that's how I did it. And people embraced it. It was a process, and it still is a process, because just because you come out, like I said, it's not a moment. It's a process. Just because you come out doesn't mean that you truly start living your authentic self. It's still uncomfortable when you walk out with someone of the same sex, or when you hold hands with someone in public, or when you say words of affection at an event. They're still uncomfortable. But I think the more support I have, and the more and how the community comes together to rally behind you has given me fuel to show up authentically in my community, and still continue to do the good work that I do.
Love that, man. Oh, so good. So, being that we're both Nicoyas, and you know how Nicoyas are, talked about your dad. If you're okay with this, we can edit this out if you'd like. But you talk to us a little bit about that family structure. Like Nicoyas can be a trip sometimes. We are who we are. Well,
I think the Latino families in general,
absolutely, that
can be right. It's not just Nicoyas. I think. I mean, I have a lot of friends who have family structures that are very interesting and not too different from ours.
How did that play out for you? Like, talk if you can. Like,
to this day I've never talked to my dad about that.
Whoa.
When I came out in 2020 and did the post, and he was the only person that disliked the post, didn't like the post. Out of 500 people, that was my point about the number of likes I got. Out of 500 people, one person disliked the post, and that was my dad. And since that day, I have not spoken to my dad about my coming out or kind of who I am, and he has not called me to discuss kind of what it means to him, right? So does it hurt? Absolutely. Like, who doesn't want both of their parents to know or accept them for who they are?
Right.
But do I lose sleep at night not knowing that my dad hasn't called me? Or no, because I think that community is very important to me, and I'm very close to my mom. I'm very close with the rest of my family, and they've all been supportive. They've all rallied to support. Do they agree with the lifestyle? Maybe not, but they have never, not once said or given me negative feedback as to who I am, or go and be your true self, right? And I think that's important. That's an important lesson for all of us to have. But yeah, I've never had a conversation with my dad, which is crazy. It's been like 6 years. And part of it is probably is like also not just the Latino, but also religion. He's very religious. And you know, everyone has their moments. And sometimes I do think, though, just my last point on this, but sometimes I do think, I was like, what if I call him? Would he pick up? But then I'm also kind of afraid of rejection when it comes to that. And I'm like, I think about it for a hot second, and I'm like, you know what? I am successful. I have a great community. I have a great family, and I don't lose sleep about it anymore.
I got you.
So
I got you.
yeah,
I totally understand. No, thank you for that. Life is funny that way.
life be lifing.
Life be lifing, right? So, is Francisco living his fullest life now?
I'd say so.
Right on.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm proud to serve on, and not just as a community leader, but also just on myself, right? I have a great partner now. I have 2 beautiful kids who are accepting of who I am. I have I co-parent really well with Lisette, and she's very accepting and has welcomed even my partner into, you know, our family. Is it still uncomfortable to show up in some spaces where I still think about like how I'm going to be perceived? Yes. Is that becoming less and less frequent in terms of when I think about that? Absolutely. But it's just a process for myself. But I feel great. I feel great in terms of kind of where I am today, the person that I am today. You know, I'm doing some advocacy work for the LGBT community through on the Board of Equality California.
Okay.
And so it's the largest LGBT advocacy organization in the country here in California, and we're doing some good work. And is it challenging times for the LGBT community during this political climate? Absolutely, but it's also challenging being a Latino in this political climate.
Yes, sir.
So anyway, you know, it's there's a lot of good things happening that I'm doing and that I am passionate about and that I will continue to do, and that fuels me to show up in spaces authentically. But I do struggle once in a while with it. But I feel like, you know, like I said, it's not a moment, it's a process. I feel like as time goes by, I feel even stronger as a person.
It's so refreshing and neat to hear. What words of encouragement do you have for those who are trying to figure out their next steps, who want to live in their purpose, who want to live their fullest life, but have fear and have apprehension for all the reasons you just mentioned? What words of advice do you have for them in this moment?
Yeah, a couple things. One, be true to yourself. But I think the hardest conversations we could have is alone in front of a mirror with ourselves. And if you could do that, you can go out there and be your authentic self. Or if you can figure that out, it'll help you go out there and be your authentic self. Also, don't wait for permission. You know, a lot of times we're afraid to do something, or we want to feel validated by someone, or through your superiors at work, or through another group of friends that you're not a part of, that you want to be a part of. And sometimes you just do what you got to do. You know, like I said, like we said earlier, life be life, and you know, things change and people evolve. And don't wait for permission to do something. Just do it. If you feel like it's the right, if it's in your heart, and you feel like it's the right thing to do, do it. And then also find your community. Because what got me through where I am today is my family, number one. But also being surrounded by people who I love and I know love me who I am, regardless of of whatever that may be, right?
Absolutely.
And so finding your community, I think it's super important. And in the Sacramento region, it's not that hard to do.
Nope.
It's not that hard to do. We have a very supportive community of leaders, of nonprofits, of even local elected officials, of just friends, and they have all become family.
Yeah.
And have welcomed, and will welcome whoever you are. We'll welcome you with open arms, and just find your community.
I think that's what makes Sacramento so awesome. It really is. It's a
Yeah.
great place. You think about your life right now, where you're at, and everything you've been through, and everything that you're accomplishing. When you have moments to yourself to just reflect and be in a moment of gratitude, what 2 or 3 things are you most filled with gratitude for?
Well, number one is my kids, because they keep me grounded, and they fuel me to kind of want to continue to set an example that they can follow. And number 2 is my mother, because obviously, like I said earlier, my mother was and still is my protector, my motivator, my biggest cheerleader, and also, obviously my stepdad too. Now he's been around for a long time, which has been super supportive. But just I'm grateful for her always being around and and accepting me for who I am, regardless of the fact that I'm gay, and she's super supportive of that.
Yeah.
So those I'm grateful for. And then just again, community. Like I said, it's all about community and service, and so I'm grateful for my community as well. And so those 3 things are things that I'm super grateful and proud to be part of the Sacramento region.
Right on. Love you, brother. Thank you so much
Thanks,
for
man.
sharing.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching the In Our Tribe podcast. Thank you for listening to the gems that Francisco shared with us. So much of finding your purpose and so much of being your authentic self is to find your people and to surround yourself with these people. But also, you heard him say that the toughest conversation sometimes is the conversation you have with yourself in the mirror, to find that brave voice that's inside of you to live that life that you want. And I want you to know, Sacramento, if you're out there in Sacramento and in our region or listening anywhere, you're not alone. YDN is here for you, and the hundreds of nonprofits that are out here doing the real work, they're there for you as well. Thank you so much for listening. We are going to have a great season 10 because Francisco kicked it off, and that's the way it goes. And we'll see you soon. Peace. I want to give a quick shout out to the Rink Studios for providing this excellent space. Thank you for being our partner in this awesome odyssey we call the In Our Tribe podcast.